The FIFA World Cup evokes a lot of emotions when it comes to football fans or even casual football fans around the world. Now, when you think about the FIFA World Cup, you think of course, the joy of football, you think of the passion of supporting your favorite team or country. You think also about, the amount of happiness that the sport brings you, because this is one of those times where it's a global celebration of the sport. However, one of the things that more often than not evades our memory when it comes to the FIFA World Cup, unfortunately, is that it can sometimes be a little bit of a career end of a certain football managers. Now, obviously, players will come, players will go. That is the nature of the beast. But with managers, a lot of them sometimes will end up coming to a World Cup full of hopes, and then have all those hopes crashing down in front of their eyes. And that has unfortunately happened to two managers who've been eliminated, Roberto Martinez and Gerardo Martino, the managers until recently of Belgium and Mexico respectively, have now left their jobs, although there is debate as to whether or not they left their jobs or was simply a case of them jumping before they could be pushed. Either which way, we'll get to what exactly is the story behind those in a bit, but let's just look quickly at what both of the managers had said, and also look at their records and why it is that they actually ended up getting the sack from their national respective jobs, despite actually having some pretty good times during their times in their managerial hot seats. Now, let's start with Roberto Martinez. He said after the match that this is my last international game. This is my last game with the national team. I cannot carry on. It's now time for me to accept that this is the last game that I will be managing for the Belgium team. And he did again also specify very clearly that, look, this isn't about me being fired. My contract was coming to an end at this point, so I'm just choosing to leave. I don't think I can stay in this job anymore. All of that. But again, as I say, was it a case of him jumping before he was pushed? Even with keeping that question in mind, it's hard to deny the fact that under Martinez, Belgium peaked really well. But since then, there has been a steady decline, and therefore, it's not really much of a surprise that he ended up getting sacked, because this FIFA World Cup would most likely have been his last chance of salvaging his job. Why do I say that? Well, his first major assignment with the Belgium team was, of course, the FIFA World Cup of 2018. Remember, he had gotten the job after 2016, and the 2018 World Cup was the first time that he actually led the Belgium side in a major tournament, and it was a tournament for the ages for them. Remember, they topped their group, they ended up making it all the way to the semi-finals, and in fact, they even beat Brazil en route to making the semi-finals. Unfortunately, they lost the semi. They lost out to eventual winners France, but then they played the third place playoff against England and actually won that. So it was seen as a massive result for the Belgians. But after that, unfortunately, as I said, things were a bit on the decline. Euro 2020, which was of course held in 2021, they only made it to the quarterfinals before losing, like in the FIFA World Cup, they lost to eventual winners France. In the Euro 2020 quarters, they lost to eventual winners Italy. Here though, in the FIFA World Cup in 2022, most people thought that maybe, just maybe, they would have enough to make it to the group stages. That wasn't the case. They've been knocked out before the group stages could even end. And that is why Martinez, as I said that this is it. This is the end of my time in Belgium. And to be fair, it's been 6 very mixed years, and it started off on a high, but only went downhill after that. And in fact, it's a similar story if you look at Gerardo Tata Martino and the time that he had at Mexico. When he came talking to why it is that he's choosing to walk away, he just said that, look, my contract with the Mexico team ended when the referee blew the final whistle. There is nothing more to be done now. Now, it's a pretty simple statement on his part, of course, but he does make it very clear that in his case, it was 100% down to a contractual situation. But again, and I add this big but, is that could it have been extended had he actually made it to, say, the round of 16 or the quarters? Quite possibly so. However, the fact is they didn't choose to renew his contract, and they would have informed him as much, which is why he's now looking out for a new job. Now again, Martino is someone who you'd remember has had a number of high profile jobs. He managed Barcelona for a time being, he managed the Argentina team for a time being, but the Mexico job was his return to international management after the Argentina job. He'd spent some time in the MLS after that, and to be fair, it started very well. Remember, he took the reins in 2019 and he ended up winning the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Gold Cup is the CONCACAF edition of, or the North American football Football Association's a Continental Cup. So it is actually the second biggest trophy that they would be competing for after, of course, the FIFA World Cup. Then, however, things ended up going downhill because the following years he ended up taking Mexico to the finals of not just the Gold Cup but also of the CONCACAF Nations League, which is of course the CONCACAF equivalent of what you're used to seeing in terms of the UEFA Nations League. They got to both finals, lost both of them, so already there were alarm bells ringing as to why exactly that was happening. And unfortunately, the final nail in his coffin was when he oversaw Mexico's first World Cup group stage exit since 1990. Now, before this particular tournament, before 2022, I'm sorry, Mexico had made it to the, made it out of the group stages in 2018, 2014, 2010, 2006, 2002, and of course even before that 98 and 94. So 7 straight editions they had made it to the knockouts, and amusingly so, in all 7 of those editions they ended up losing out in the round of 16. But that's neither here nor there. The fact is, with Mexico the expectation was always there that they would be able to make it to the knockouts. The fact that Martino couldn't take them that far, despite the fact that the squad did have quality and they were sometimes just a little unlucky or maybe didn't finish as well as they probably should have, that in itself is the main reason why his time has unfortunately come to an end as Mexico's manager. Again, both managers had their good moments, they had their highs, but the lows kind of outnumbered them if you had to look at it from a purely objective perspective, and unfortunately that's why both of them are now looking for jobs. What do you guys think? Do you think that both of them will be winding up in another club maybe sometime in the near future, or maybe even another national team job? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course don't forget to tap that bell icon and maybe leave us a comment so we can see how it is you feel about both of these particular managers. Then you can also go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and as always, don't forget, download the AajTak app. You'll get all of the FIFA World Cup highlights on the app for free, whether it be goal by goal, whether it be full match highlights, and the best part is you can also choose the language of your choice. You can watch it in either English or Hindi. You'll also get highlights of the Abu Dhabi T10 League among many other interesting articles and of course graphic based stories. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and download the app. Thank you all once again for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Dias. I hope to see you with us through the night because there's some exciting football action going on right now. But for right now, goodbye.